People don't fail diets because of lack of discipline. They fail them because of lack of systems. And in this video, I'm gonna break down the system you should use when picking your food choices to make losing fat super simple. Look, everything I'm gonna give you in this video is backed by the satiety index, experience, and science. That way you know you're guaranteed to get results when you implement this. So we're gonna dive straight in. I'm gonna give you the top 10 foods you should eat when you're trying to lose body fat that's gonna make the process so good, it's gonna be hard to believe. I'm like Yoda, except I'm not green. I'm probably the same sort of face shape. Breaking down the wisdom for you. Look, the satiety index sounds all mad, but it's a really simple breakdown. Satiety is just pretty much how much a food fills you. So if you're not hungry, it's got good satiety. So I'm gonna draw this out for you. So there's pretty much like a scale of like foods that are high in satiety, so HS foods, and then OS. So if you can think about it, think about foods that naturally you want more of and that you could eat large amounts of. These will naturally fall here. This is the likes of, they're very usually quite calorie dense, like the likes of cookies, ice cream, stuff that's like liquid calories, really obvious stuff like liquid. It's like really simple stuff that is gonna let me just write this out. Liquid calories. This is really simple stuff that is naturally gonna be low in satiety. So this is great if you're bulking. My main man Joseph, yep, my brother, he loves liquid calories. I don't understand how he diets and still has these. I don't understand it. So these aren't necessarily the foods you'd want to stay away from when dieting. They taste great. And you will see online this whole thought process around, but we want to include these so we don't restrict, so we don't binge. However, the problem with this is if we only focus on calories as a whole, you will end up eating lots of these foods. And then as a result, you end up hungry and breaking diet. So high satiety will stop you feeling hungry and makes dieting much easier. So the goal essentially is to eat foods that are going to keep you full. And then as a result, that's also going to stop your cravings for bad food, making overall staying lean with abs much easier. So off the top of your head, you'll think of some high satiety foods. So foods that naturally, you're going to be more full of whenever you eat them. So if I was to say, what foods should you not eat whenever you're dieting? And yes, I know people will say, oh, sustainable and you should have balance. And if we think about foods that in reality are gonna, what's the nicer word to say this, that are gonna mess up our diet, they're naturally gonna fall into low satiety. They're gonna be the likes of fast food. They're gonna be the likes of, as I said, the cookies, the ice cream, the liquid calories, stuff that is just so easy to get in, ideal for bulking, but a mess whenever you're trying to stay full and actually perform well. So majority, like the way I want you to think about this is when we break it down and we just simplify it. If I draw like a circle and we line that out, right? It's not the best of circles. People online will talk about sort of sustainability. And this is pretty much 10% of like a pie, maybe a bit off. And then this is 90%. And what we want is about 90% of high satiety foods, all right? And then this 10% about low satiety. Now, this is probably the worst circle you've ever seen, but this also goes for food quality as well, because naturally these foods are going to be better in micronutrients, fiber, and that's what the 90% should be made up of. This is the problem if you only focus on calories and macros, because you're going to end up eating trash and then as a result end up hungry, craving more bad foods, and that's going to affect you. So what I want to do is give you the top 10 foods that I found for myself, my clients, that I've got insane results, make it super simple, and we're just going to dive straight in and give you a ton of value, but you need to understand that first. So there is rules to this. Now, before I give you the food, I want to highlight those rules. Naturally, most of these foods will fall into protein, okay, just so you're aware. You're going to have the likes of fiber, and then you're going to have the likes of, I would say, calories for volume. So I'll write calories. You're going to get quite a large amount, so I'll write volume. It's really, really important that we think about this, because these are going to be the main deciding factors that are going to really make our food choices, because it's backed by science, but on top of that, we're also hitting what you need to make things easier. So naturally, if it ticks these boxes, protein, fiber, calories for volume, you're going to be onto a winner. There's a study done, I think it was in like 1980 or so, on like pretty much food groups, and it's called the satiety index. And what they'd done was they had people eat foods and then pretty much score where they fell in the hunger after so long. So for example, like if you were hungry like 30 minutes after, you maybe mark yourself here, 1 hour in, so the food would have been marked like having low satiety. And then naturally, if a food kept you full for 5 hours, it was higher in satiety. And what the general conscious around this was, these food groups tend to be fiber, volume, protein, as I said. Like not all in one, because it's hard to get, high protein, high fiber all the time. But it's one of these things, majority of the higher satiety groups fell into this category. So once we understand why the satiety index is important, you can make the right food choices. You can also just Google satiety index, but what I'm going to give you is examples that some will be on it and some won't, that just naturally work. I basically lived off these during my dieting phase. So let's dive in. I'm going to give you the top 10 foods. So number 1, we have what I like to call the king, right? This is so stereotypical, but it is going to be the potato. And the reason for that, I'm just going to write potatoes. The reason for that is these are high in fiber, and the sheer volume you get of the food for the amount of calories is insane. You will naturally notice that these are very versatile foods, so you can cook them in so many ways, but they're slower digest. Now, it's different if you're deep fat frying them, but this food group, I would say, is the number 1 carb source I would eat when dieting. And it's quickly followed by number 2, which you know what, I'll draw here because it's just easier. Number 2 is going to be your oats. The reason for this is super high in fiber. They're slow releasing carbs. They're unbelievable. They mix really well with protein. And the thing is, they're going to keep you full. They're just a great food group to include whenever you're dieting because it's just naturally going to make things easy. They're cheap. Both of these I want to highlight as well. The thing is, I want to highlight that both of these are cheap and affordable and makes it way easier. Next up, I would say the third high satiety food, because I'm putting these in order, would be eggs. The reason for that is not only are they high in protein, they're high in fats. And a lot of the time, fats get a bad rep, right? So people think, fats are very, very calorie dense. You don't want the likes of peanut butter. You don't want the likes of olive oil. And that is correct, but they're almost in a liquid form. When it comes to the likes of eggs, even though you don't get massive volume, you get fats and you get protein, and you'll notice you're full for a long time period. And I think this is one of the reasons why people eat these all the time in the morning. They just keep you full all day. They're a really good, nutritious food. They've got good cholesterol. Don't worry about that. You're in a good stage. As long as you're eating healthy and you're not overshooting it, you're in a great spot. I would say the fourth is Greek yogurt. And it's funny because although this would technically fall under the essentially the liquidy, you just notice because the way it digests, this works exceptionally well. As a pro trick, I would say putting berries with this works an absolute treat because it's high in protein. The amount you get for the calories is insane because if you can get 0% fat, that will make all the difference. And I really do think this is a game changer if you've not had it before. Next up, we have cod or whitefish. The reason for this is the reason you see every bikini competitor just have whitefish and green beans. The amount of volume and protein you get for the calories of cod or whitefish is insane. It's great for actually creating a full plate visual as well. You'll actually fill up your plate, whereas it can be quite hard to fill your plate with the likes of eggs. But trust me, if you actually weigh out 250 calories of whitefish, you'll be like, God damn, that's a lot of fish. It's actually insane because whenever we look at it, if you were to have salmon, and yes, there's healthy fats in it, this is my thought process of what a fish looks like, you would probably get 2.3 times the amount in cod. This is probably the worst fish you'll ever see, but this is my representation. So this would be whitefish, and this would be your salmon. Now, don't get me wrong, both have a place because of healthy fats in the salmon, but in terms of volume, the whitefish always wins. You're probably wondering why I'm even doing YouTube, because I'm that good at art. I know, it's very impressive. Next up, we have number 6, which is going to be 5% fat, and you're wondering what? Beef. So ideally some sort of mince. It's really, really high in satiety. There's good density in it. Not only does it mix well with other foods, it's high protein. It's got everything you want, a small bit of fat, so the digestion is quite slow, and that's going to massively help increase the satiety. Similar to the fish, we also have the likes of what I would say is probably the most common one you'll see, which will be chicken breast, okay? Almost spelled chicken wrong. The amount of volume you get is insane. It's high protein, and it's going to keep you full for a long time period. It's self-explanatory. Next up, we have mixed veg. Now, I'm not giving you any specifics because I think it really comes down to the individual. A couple of examples of this is going to be the likes of, I actually really do rate, I'm just going to write it quickly, cauli rice. So cauliflower rice, it just bulks up the volume. If you're having chicken and rice, just as a pure bro meal or whatever you're eating, if you add a bag of cauliflower in amongst it, you won't notice it and it'll give you that little bit more volume. The same with adding the likes of your brock or your carrots. Brock and cauliflower in general tend to fill you up because they're quite gassy. You'll notice this if somebody eats these around you, you will smell it. But in reality, these are food groups. Most veg in general are going to have a little bit of fiber. They're going to be low calorie, and it's going to help you actually maintain your low calorie diet if you are trying to lose that body fat. So I would literally say that for the amount of calories you get with veg, you get so much, weigh out 100 calories of veg versus 100 calories of sweets, and you'll quickly learn why. Now, you're going to know the next one because it's super simple, but for me, I actually do think most fruit is a good choice, even though it won't be on the satiety index. The reason for this is foods like raspberries, if you actually pick right, is really, really high in fiber, right? These are really, really high. So you'll actually notice, even though it's small volume, even though like say 100 grams of raspberries or 200 grams of raspberries isn't a massive volume, it is compared to dry fruit, and I would stay away from that. They're high in fiber. This is going to make digestion a process where you're actually going to feel fuller for longer. There is other food groups like, you know, whenever we look at like super high fruit ones that are easy to get in, like I find bananas a really good food group for bulking, not that, because I can literally mash them, ping them straight away. Same with blueberries, very easy to get in. So how much you like a food massively comes into this. If you're eating a food that is super palatable, you may notice you struggle to stop consuming it. So if you love raspberries, you could still overconsume them. These are just food groups that I found that are really good for stopping you getting hungry. And 10, this is a bit of a weird one, but I do think soups are a game changer because they're high in liquid. And our main reason that people are hungry, and this is like a bonus one, one of the main reasons people get hungry is because they're dehydrated. So I'm just gonna write dehydrate, because whenever we break it down, they're actually not consuming enough water. If you're hungry, have a glass of water or a pint, and what you'll notice is usually that hunger drops down in 10 to 15 minutes. A lot of us don't realize, but we mistake hunger for dehydration. The brain also doesn't make the best choices. So I want to really get that thought process that this is volume. So I'm not saying liquid calories is always good, but soups, or I would say broth. So like you can sometimes get a lot of volume in the likes of like ramen if you're smart with it, and you even swap out noodles to bean sprouts. Really weird take, but it does work well. You just notice that most of these actually you take more time to eat because you're sipping with spoons. And this is small tips I want to get in as well with the satiety section, right? There's simple things that you can do that can really massively help you stay full, even with the foods you're eating. So one thing I want to say is if you simply are eating on a big plate, just simply swap it for a smaller plate, because when you fill this all up, it's going to be less food naturally than if you fill this. And in my house, we were told that if you did not clear your plate, things were not good. You were a bad boy. Versus now, you'll actually feel far better if you just use smaller plates, because if you fill it up and finish it, it's fine, but it's far less calories because naturally you'll get less calories on the plate. Next up, we have the simple thing of if this was a fork, you just use a smaller fork. This is going to slow down your eating. If you slow down your eating, you're naturally going to be able to signal, your body will signal that you're full quicker to the brain. It takes about 20, 30 minutes after you eat to signal that. That's why sometimes you'll notice you want to keep grazing after you finish a meal. However, 20, 30 minutes later, you're stuffed. So it takes a bit of time for that signal to come up, okay? So using smaller cutlery, smaller plates will slow down your eating and ensure that you eat less. Two small tips, but for satiety, they're a game changer. So a lot of people will blame motivation for the reason that they're simply not getting a result. But I want to highlight it's actually not motivation. It's the fact that you don't have systems. This is the main thing that holds people back. And by actually picking foods, doing the shopping, having these in place, this will make it far easier. And this is why I built up multiple resources. So you can DM me the word snack Bible if you want high calorie, low calorie, high satiating, tasty foods that are going to stop you binging. Just DM me the word snack Bible on Instagram or any of the big platforms and I'll send you over for free. But when you build systems in any area of your life, you always fall down to this because motivation's always going to go. Like some days there's going to be waves in the sea and it's easy to paddle because the waves are going to take you in. You can surf to shore. Other days you have to stick your hands in the mud and pull yourself in regardless of the waves. And I want you to remember that systems just make it easier. How much easier is it to go to the gym whenever your clothes are in the back of your car, your pre-workouts there, and you can just go there straight after work? It's so much simpler because you've built that system. The same with having these foods in the house. If you're hungry, picking high satiety foods will massively help. And the same with them simple tools with the smaller forks, smaller plates makes a big difference. Remember, it's not motivation, it's your systems. And I think then it allows us to take complete control because you're never going to have motivation all the time. So just remember, protein, fiber, volume will give you fat loss. And obviously people will say, but what about taste? What about this? Seasoning, spices, actually being smart with your food, learning how to cook, because otherwise you're fighting your biology. Your body is meant to ramp up hunger because you are losing body fat. Think about it. Your body does not want to lose body fat. This is literally what's going to keep you alive if you run out of food in your premise. So this is why the idea of like starvation and like the body fighting back and adapting its metabolism came about. Because if you think about it 1,000 years ago, if there wasn't enough food around you, your body would have signaled you to go hunt. That is pretty much what it is. So don't feel like hunger is not going to happen. You're going to feel hungry to some extent, but managing it will make things far easier, especially if you struggle with willpower, because we only have so much throughout the day. And what people don't realize with willpower is they think some people have it and some people don't. But willpower, actually, like if you break this down, you only have so much. It's like a finite resource. And I want to highlight this. So if you use it, using it, and then boom, you'll just drop off because you've used a lot of willpower. This is the same with decision making. That's why picking out your clothes the night before, all these simple things add up. This is why adding in accountability with a friend or anything like that can massively help. But what I want to highlight is you only have so much, and if you use it on stupid things by not having systems in place, you just waste your willpower and everybody will eventually break. So having systems will massively save your willpower for when you need it most. They're the highest satiety foods that have worked for me and hundreds of clients. You'll have seen the results. They're insane. This is what I always load up meal plans on. It's not rocket science. It's basics. People just don't nail it well enough. And if you struggle with hunger and cravings, actually focusing on, if you think about that big pie chart I drew and it's 10%, you're probably having more like 20 or 30 of these low satiety food groups. And this is what's killing you because this is what's making you hungry and break diet. Whereas you might be an individual who actually needs to go more like 5% low satiety, and then the rest all high. And this will be absolutely game changer if you nail this. I'm the sort of individual who goes 100%. I just nail it, and then if I want to meal off, I'll build it into the calories or calorie bank for it. And that's pretty much it. Hopefully you found that really, really useful. I think I wish I'd have seen that video years ago before I had to go through all the experience of it. It's really simple, but common sense ain't so common. And hopefully you found that good. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Big love.